Hello and welcome to FacChat, our series of interviews and chats with faculty at the Srishti Manipal Institute of Art, Design and Technology. Today we have with us Mary Jacob, who was there when it all began many years ago, when the universe, so to speak, started. And so Mary, thanks for joining us. So tell us a little bit about the early days.
So, I didn't start right from the beginning. I joined Srishti in 2004. That was, I think, 6 years old, more than that, around that, Srishti was already about 6 or 7 years old when I joined Srishti, Yeah, and it was a small community. I think everybody together, we were something like 200 students and faculty together. And it was a very homely place. I'm not saying it's not now, but I think we have a much larger family now. Yeah.
So you have this interesting background, architecture, and then you transited more into a different kind of space. Tell us about your academic journey, a little bit about it, and the early years before you came to Srishti.
So I did my architecture, B.Arch, from a college in Bangalore, Vishweshwaraya College of Engineering. I graduated very long ago in '82. And then I did do some practice. I practiced as an architect, I did interior design, and I then moved into teaching because it just seemed a little bit more practical with children growing up that, I do teaching that was more convenient. So I did a mixture of practice and teaching. And then finally in 2004, I was ready for full-time teaching, and Srishti was starting an interior design program. So that's how I came to Srishti at that time. And interior design kind of has changed over the time, because when we started, it was called furniture and interior design. Then after some time, it became spatial design, and then we moved into what is now called public space design. So that was really a history of how public space design came to be. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey at Srishti too, and I have to say that I always had a passion for inclusive design. So much later in my life, when I was at Srishti, I did my master's in special education and inclusive education. So that's how I did my master's after many years. Yeah, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
One of the things about Srishti is that a lot of people whom we have been speaking to in this series of chats have each of them pointed out why they think this place is unique and how learning and teaching happens in a unique way. So what is your take on how learning and teaching plays out in our little universe over here?
See, I taught in an interior design course earlier, but I really got bored because you're doing the same thing day in and day out. The syllabus doesn't change. You just continue the same thing. And I was really getting bored. But ever since coming to Srishti in 2004, I haven't had a dull moment. But every year we are changing things, we're doing things differently. So there's a lot more space for creativity. And the other thing that I really like at Srishti is the student-faculty relationship. Because we really don't, we're all learners, we're all in it together. Like I have no hesitation telling my students I don't know something, and then I'm going to learn it and teach you. So that kind of comfort is something that I'm happy with and I'm enjoying.
Also, part of the way, students are evaluated, the kind of examination system, the charrettes. Tell us a little bit about that, because you oversee a lot of that. How is it different to the conventional way students are evaluated in other places?
I think it's very different. I mean, from a BA, BSc kind of education system to what design school, the way we examine. And I think the way we examine, it gives students a space for their creativity. Of course, there is stress because it's to be done in a limited time, but that's okay. I feel it's preparing them for the outside world, where you do have to work with time limits and things like that. So when you have a charrette and you're doing it in, like, say, 8 days and finishing a project completely, I always find that students perform really well. Most students perform really well because they take the pressure, and then it's a challenge for them to finish that outcome. So that's interesting to see.
One of the things that parents sort of worry about, and my child is going to Srishti and I'm paying these fees and all, and they seem to want some kind of a cost-benefit ratio out of it. And they come out, what are the things that will open up for them, because we don't have a placement kind of system. because we believe our students should be able to work anywhere. So what would you say to parents like that to say, what will my child get out of this 4-year or 3-year degree, as the case may be, if it's, whether it's BDes or BWOP?
I mean, when I look back, almost all the alumni that I know and I'm in touch with, they are either working in a very good firm or they have set up on their own or they've gone for higher studies. I can't remember, in my last so many years, anybody who hasn't got a job. So that would be my first reassurance to the parent. In my last 19 years at Shishti, I feel I haven't seen anybody like that. Now they may not follow the same line that they learned here, which I think is perfectly okay, because we give them the base, and then they can move on to our different lines, which is fine. It's like I did architecture and then moved into teaching, and then went into special needs. So I think that's fine. You find your passion and you follow it, and I think children will do that.
A lot of the world is sort of changing very rapidly, and literally you have a pandemic 1 month and then you have something else, and you have war in Europe which can sort of get worse than what it is at the moment, and a lot of the way traditional occupations are sort of changing. How does Shishti help students prepare for that kind of space when they go into the real world? Any inputs on that?
Well, I think, the way we teach is because we are always putting the students into real context. We are not teaching them from the book, or we are not just theoretically saying things. You're taking them out into the world, all our environmental exposures. You take them out into the world and you're teaching them how to deal with the real world. And even the projects, sometimes they may be hypothetical, but even then you're always putting them into a real world situation. The problems that we deal with are all real problems. So even with the pandemic, I think our students have learned how to deal with that. So I feel our education at Shishti does help with that, much more than a regular college would.
Last question. Looking happy. So, any story, anecdote, I'm asking everybody that sums up your experience, that comes to mind when you say, this particular incident makes me feel that it's all worth it. Or this particular story, or this particular individual.
Well, I think Geeta has been a lot of inspiration for me, because if I look at her, the way, there are times when she, pushes you so much and you wonder what you're doing, but I feel I've learned a lot from her. And I feel I have to give credit to that, the way she's led Shishti and the way she has pushed us maybe at the deep end very often, and we learned to swim, and she's been there to support us through that. And I would really feel that I have to say that and appreciate that. Yeah.
Mary Jacob, thank you very much
Thanks,
for
Niret.
joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.